Hey guys, happy freaking new year. It is 2023, you guys. As you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to be reflecting on my 2022 year. I can honestly say, y'all, 2022 wasn't too bad for me. Like, I had some highs and some lows, but like when I look at the overall objective of it and the events that happened and the things that I learned and accomplished, I'm like, 2022 wasn't a bad year. So I figured, since it is the new year, this would be the best time to basically reflect on the previous year before. When I think about my 2022, honestly, y'all, I had some pretty, like, I had normal things going on in my life. Like, y'all know that I was depressed, and y'all know that we closed the business. But honestly, like, when I reflect even on those incidents, like, closing the business wasn't like a low. Like, honestly, that was probably the best decision that we could have made. The hardest decision, but the best decision. So I don't even really consider that a low. And then me being depressed, I feel like I'm depressed all the time. So it's just a normal part of seasons in my life because I always get back up, thank God. But yeah, I don't even really consider them lows, but y'all know that I had those moments or those seasons in my life. And then the good stuff, like when I reflect on like what good happened in the year, like what I accomplished in the year, like y'all, I opened up a whole entire med spa. Like me, Shannon, like, do y'all remember when I was in nursing school? Like, what? Like, sometimes it's mind-boggling to me to know that I I opened up a legit med spa, and a successful med spa. And that, right, like, y'all know that we didn't close business because we wasn't making any money. I actually was doing my taxes or about to get ready to do my taxes and looking at our finances, and we made close to $80,000. Mind you, remember, if y'all follow the journey, like the first few months we opened, we were making no money. Then that's when we hired our marketing coach, and then that's when we started making money. And then y'all know we closed the business like the last 2 months of the year. So technically we were only working, like actually making money, 8 or 9 months out of the year. But I have no doubt that if we would have worked the whole entire year making money, we would have made 6 figures. Like, that is a huge accomplishment for a business. And I'm just like, I did that? Like, I was a part of something like that. So that was definitely a win for me this year. But we'll talk about the business. Taking off 4 months, y'all. Taking off 4 months to be an entrepreneur. It was only 4 months. It was short-lived. But the point is that I was able to actually take off 4 months. Like, before I became a nurse, like, I was living check to check. So I know what it is to have to save here and stuff take a little bit longer to pay off, and then you in debt. Like, I know that journey. So the blessing out of being able to take off 4 months, like to be able to have 4 months of finances saved up so that I could work on my goals and my dream, like, that was like, man, God really be looking out for me. So I said it to say, like, I had some really good moments and some regular seasonal downs of life happened, but overall it was a good 22. So yes, so we're gonna jump right into the video. I like wrote down like several categories, or I guess events in 2022 that kind of really stood out and kind of shaped my year. So I just went ahead and wrote down some like categories in my phone, and I'm just gonna touch on, like, reflect on each one of them and kind of just touch on each one of them. So let's get into the video. So the first category that we're going to talk about is God. Y'all, in 2022, well, it was really at the end of 2022 is when I realized, like, I don't really know the God that I serve. And what I mean by that is, like, of course I believe in God. Y'all know that I have a relationship with God, because there are things that have happened in my life where I was like, I know that's nobody but God. So I believe in God, but I didn't really know the character traits of God. And what I mean by that is I was operating in a way that if I truly knew the God that I serve, like what God says about himself and also what God says about us, I wouldn't operate the way that I do. And so, for an example, to keep it a buck with y'all, I was in a headspace, and I've always been like this. When I feel convicted about something, when I feel like I'm not on the path that God wants me on, or I feel like I'm just blatantly doing my own thing, like disregarding God, I remove myself from God. Like, I detach from God, because this makes no sense, but this is the rationale in my head. I'm not about to keep playing with you, God. Like, I'm not about to keep playing with you because it's unfair for you to love me the way that you love me and I'll move certain ways. That's just me being transparent with y'all. And so I would distance myself from God because I felt like I was falling short. And if I'm gonna continue, like, I'm never gonna get it right. And if I always fall short, like, God, I'm not about to play you. Because I know if I love somebody and they keep on messing up and keep on messing up and keep on messing up, and at the chance, me, I'm cutting you off. Like, and I'm so thankful that God is not like us, and God does not have the thoughts that we have. God does not operate according to what we deserve. Like, God gives us. So this is where I get into, like, me not knowing the character traits, because if I knew the character traits of God, there is no way that I would think like that. And let me say that that's nothing but the enemy. The enemy wants you to remove yourself from God. And y'all, this is kind of deep, but anyway, the enemy wants you to remove yourself from God. But if you know the character traits of God, I had to really learn the character traits of God. I was reading this book. I'll put it on the screen. I've had that book for like 4 or 5 years, and I guess the first time that I read it, child, I wasn't comprehending it, because I picked it up again and I just was reading through it, and I was just like, wow, you really don't know the God that you serve. Like, it just taught me that God is so compassionate, so patient, so loving, so gentle, so soft with us. Like, God is so understanding, and he wants nothing more than for us to come to him every single time we fall short. Because how can he help us if we don't draw near? How can he change our mind and our heart if we don't seek him? And I had to really check myself about that, because I'm like, if you understand that, then there is no reason why you should distance yourself from God. Like, you need to come back to him no matter how many times you fall short. And so I'll be honest, guys, like, I cannot fathom, like, God's love for us. Like, it doesn't, because I'm thinking with my human mind. If you keep playing with me, like, nah, you out of here, buddy. So I can't fathom God's patience and his love for us, but I will definitely say I am so grateful for it. And I'm grateful for his mercy, and I'm grateful for his grace. And so in 2022, I really had to, like I said, it was the end of 2022, and I'm still learning, because it's a mindset thing. I've always thought about this, like, oh, I'm not deserving. Like, God's, I guess, path for me is, that's another thing too. Like, if I know the God that I serve, I know that he wants me to be happy. He wants me to experience joy. But I had a mindset like, well, maybe God just doesn't want me to experience joy. Maybe that's not his desire for me to have a family or just experience true happiness. Like, maybe I'm just the one who has to be the testament to say, oh, even though I didn't get the desires of my heart, I still trusted God. But I learned that God wants, like I said, he wants us to be happy. Like, he wants us to experience joy. He doesn't want us to stay in depression. He doesn't want us to not feel love. Like, God knows the desires of your heart. And if you truly believe that, like, you start to operate different. So yeah, I know that might have been a little bit deep, but I definitely had to read my word. Read what God says about himself. Like, God tells you in the Bible, this is who I am. And then he also tells us how much he loves us and how much we mean to him. And so I really had to dive deep, because it's like, when you operate in that mindset of like lack, or feeling like you don't deserve good things, or good things don't deserve to come to you, you don't deserve to live, you know, a certain life, I don't know, it puts a lot of fear in you. And it's just like, God has not created us to operate in fear. And so I had to really learn the character traits of my God, learn what he says about me and what he says about himself, so that I can move accordingly, and also understand that no matter how many times I fall short, God wants me to come back every single time. He does not treat us how we treat other people. Like, he doesn't treat us according to that. Like, his greatest desire is for us to experience true joy and true love through him. And so that was a big lesson for me. Like, and like I said, I'm still trying to change my mindset around it because I've been thinking this way for years. But I know in 2023, I really want to tap more into getting to know who God is. I've experienced him, and that's great. Like, God is an experience, but I actually want to know, like, God, what do you say about yourself? So that's what I learned about 2022 and about God. So child, I know that was probably deep, but again, I just made like several categories, and I'm like, what was very prominent that, you know, that I'm pointing out in that year that happened. So let's get into the next category. All right, so the next one, y'all, we're gonna talk about dating in 2022 for me. Dating in 2022 for me was interesting because I learned that I've actually never dated. Typically, for one, I don't really like a lot of men like that. Like, not that I'm picky, but I just don't be meeting guys that I really like. And honestly, the ones that I do like, I probably shouldn't like anyway. So I have friend zone a lot of guys. Like, I have a lot of male friends just from like friend zoning them. But typically how it goes for me is like, I'll meet somebody, we'll like each other, then we'll be in a relationship. And I'll be in relationships for like long time, like 2, 3, 4 years. We'll be in a relationship, we'll break up, and then I'll be single. And I'll be single, like my phone is dry, ain't nobody calling me, ain't no potential, I'm not dating, no nothing. Like, I'm single by myself. And it'll be for a long time too, like 2, 3 years. So that cycle repeats itself. I'll meet somebody, we'll be together for a minute, we'll break up, I'll be single for a minute, and then I'll meet somebody else. And so I realized that I've never actually dated. So last year, that was my first time experiencing dating. And y'all had like a roster. That actually felt kind of nice. It felt nice to have like options to pick from. But I actually learned how to date. Typically, like, if I like you, because I don't be liking people like that, but liking guys like that, I will start to prioritize you. Like, I will start to fit you into my life. And so with dating, that's really hard to do, to prioritize each guy. And so I was getting to learn people, getting to learn myself, getting to learn like what I do and don't like. And y'all, I had some experiences actually last year. Like, I was talking to one guy who were actually really serious. We were talking about moving in together, talking about marriage, going to look at that house. Crazy, y'all. This all happened last year, but we were talking about all of that, and child, I realized that me and that man was trauma bonding, and that is never good. So I learned stuff like that. Like, even though I was prioritizing somebody, I wasn't fully committed to them, and I was getting to learn them versus like only prioritizing one guy and then just kind of being with him because I had other options. And so I learned about that. I also learned about what I don't like. Child, I'm not talking to no brokies no more. And well, I don't want to say brokies. The two guys that were broke, they didn't have money. So this is the thing, y'all. Typically, before I became a nurse, I'm typically the one who makes less money than a guy. So like, finances never, like, of course I wanted a guy who was well off, but I'm not used to making more money than him. And so now the tables are turned, and I'm talking to guys who have like careers and stuff like that, but the careers are on the lower spectrum of the totem pole when it comes to salary. And so like, one time I was dating a guy who had like 3, 4, 5 jobs just to be able to live a normal lifestyle. And child, my love language is quality time. And so now you exchanging time for money, and if I can't get my time, then we ain't got nothing to talk about. So I learned that I don't want a dude who gotta work a million jobs and not be able to build our relationship. I don't want that. I don't want no parts of that. Then I was dating another dude where he wasn't broke. He was like making $30 an hour, which is fine, but he was the type of dude who was like always talking about money, always talking about how much money he didn't have, how he gotta wait for that. And again, I get that. I've been in that position where I've been living check to check, but he didn't know how to go get it, and that's not attractive to me. Like, even when I was working check to check, there was a point in time where I was like, okay, I want a certain lifestyle, and so I need to level up. And then I became a nurse. So I don't like a man who don't know how to go out there and get it, because if we got to be a unit, I need to know that you got that mindset. Like, if we fall on hard times, like, we gonna figure a way out without this. And so that's when I also realized, like, I don't like broke men like that. So to avoid all of that stuff, not saying that a man with money is going to be better, but when you have money issues, it really takes away from you getting to know the other person. Because when you thinking about money, where you gonna stay at, how you gonna pay this bill, how you gonna eat, like, you don't even have, you worried about your basic skills that you can't even move up to things that are like, okay, let me get to know who you are as a person. So I learned that I don't want to talk to no broke guys. I can't, broke boys, I can't. So this year I really got a chance to know people before we actually committed. And that was new for me. Like, I'm the type of person, like, if I like you, I'm like, what is we doing? This time around, since I got a little seasoning on me, this time around this year, when I'm dating this year, like, I'm just going to have fun. I'm gonna just go with the flow. I'm not going into it thinking like, is this my husband? I'm going into it literally to date, to get to know people. If it goes to another level, cool, but I'm not going into it. I'm going into it intentional, because I'm not about to just be chilling with somebody who, like, they're not a vibe, or like, you know, certain stuff like that. Like, I want quality dating. That's what I want. In 2023, we're going on quality dates. And so yeah, that was my little reflection on dating for me in 2022. This one, y'all, this category, I don't even know what to name it, but I was just thinking, like, overall last year, I was in my head a lot. I don't know if it's like a medication that you could take for, like, getting out of your head, but or something. It has to be, as many self-help books I've read, I need to apply something that I read, but I will get in my head to the point I will convince myself not to do something. I will think of every negative reason or outcome that something can possibly have, that I will convince myself not to do it. And I did that, even though I accomplished a lot in 2022. Towards the end of 2022, I realized that I will create a scenario, and it's always negative in my head, and expect the worst. I guess because I don't want to get let down, but it's like, girl, you cannot operate like that in 2023. Like, I am in the year of, I don't know how it's gonna turn out, but I'm just gonna do it anyway and see where the chips fall. I don't have time to be contemplating, like, well, what if this happened, or what if that don't go right? It's just like, girl, this is life. Just do the damn thing. Whatever it is, just do it. Whatever the idea is, just do it. Like, don't be sitting on stuff, because you never know what could come of it. So in 2022, I was definitely I realized that, like, I'm always like that, and I'm like, I don't want to carry that with me. Like, that was a moment where I was like becoming self-aware of, like, how I operate. Now, the crazy thing is, when it comes to my friends or anybody, even when I'm talking to y'all, like, I am everybody else's biggest cheerleader, but I'm not my own cheerleader. Like, I put limiting beliefs on myself. And just go back to God, like, I gotta know whose I am, and that's not how God intends for us to operate. And so I really realized that I am the type of person who is in my head, and reflecting on 2022, it's like, no, we can't indulge in that type of activity anymore, because we got stuff to do, we got goals to accomplish, we got ideas that need to be turned into reality. And it's just like, no, I'm not about that life no more. So coming into 2023, I see myself putting out a lot of things, like doing a lot of different things, because it's an idea, and it's just like, let me act on it and see where the chips may fall. No more holding myself back, or limiting myself, or setting a limit on my success or my goals or what I accomplished. Like, I'm getting out of my head. I've done that my whole entire life, but in 2022, I realized that, like, a lot of things that I'm thinking of are habits or traits that I've had for years, and last year was basically me reflecting on those traits and realizing why things the way they are, why I am the way that I am, but figuring out solutions to be better. That's what I realized 2022 was. Like, that's what the consensus was. Like, me recognizing certain traits about myself, diving deep into why I am that way, and coming up with a solution to be better or step into to grow. But yeah, that was my take on me just being in my head last year. We're not doing that this year. Okay, so the next topic we're going to talk about is friendships for me in 2022. As y'all know, I just moved here to Atlanta. It was a year in August, and so I was essentially starting over with my community. I didn't have anybody. I don't know anybody here, and so I really had to kind of put myself out there, because I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't really have a lot of new friends. Like, my relationships are with people that I've known for, like, me and my best friend known each other for almost 20 years. And so I have those type of relationships where, you know, we may not talk every day, but you know, I have some loyal people in my life. I have some very, like, people who are gonna tell me about myself or not. I don't have any yes men people in my life. Like, I have a good few quality relationships, but coming here and being here by myself, I had to realize, like, I started to realize, like, how important community is. And so I put myself out there, which is new to me, and I stay to myself a lot. So anyway, I say that to say that this year I really started to build my community, which felt good, but it also was teaching me, it also taught me, or it also got me to thinking about reevaluating a lot of relationships, friendships that I have in my life that have expired already. I'm the type of person, like, I'm loyal to a fault. Like, I will be loyal to my nail tech, my lash tech, the person who do my hair, people, just because, like, I'm just that type of person. Like, I be holding on to stuff. I got abandonment issues. Like, I hold on to stuff way longer than it needs to be held on to. And so I started to evaluate a lot of my friendships this year. I decided to remove myself from friendships where we were both not making an effort to continue to nurture the friendship. I withdrew myself from those type of relationships, because I feel like friendships should be mutualistic. Like, we should be pouring into each other. We can have different goals, different ideas, you know, we can have all of those things, because that's what makes us human. But I wanted friendships that pour into me. And so this year I got to experience that, because I feel like a lot of times, no, don't get me wrong, I purposely say I have really good friendships. I have people who gonna get me right, like, Shannon, no, you know you wrong. I got people who I can call up right now, like, let's ride out. Like, I have some really good friendships, but I also have friendships, and this is not a bad thing. It made me realize that friendships have seasons. Like, everybody is not meant to be your friend, or everybody, not even just friends, everybody in general is not meant to be in your life forever. Everybody has a season, and because your season expired, that's not a bad thing. You take what you need from that relationship, what you learn from it, and apply it to your next friendship. And so I say all that to say I reevaluated a lot of my friendships. Not a lot, because first of all, I don't even have a lot of people in my life, but the ones that I felt like we were no longer serving each other, I removed myself from those friendships. And then the friendships that I gained this year really made me look at myself and ask, are you a good friend? Are you showing up for your friends in the way that they need to be shown up for, not what you think they need to be shown up for? And I met some really great people who have held me accountable, some great people who have cheered me on, some great people who have called me out, some great people who have supported me. And it just made me realize, like, that is the type of friendships that I want to nurture, where we are giving that to each other. And so friendships in 2022 was new for me, because it's been a while since I've had to develop a new friend group. So yeah, I had read this book about community, and how basically, like, God does not intend for us to go through life together. Like, I mean, God does not intend for us to go through life alone. Like, we are supposed to go through life together. And so community is very important. And so you know, that book made me realize, like, you have to build your community. You have to assess your community every once in a while, because everybody is not meant to stay forever. And you also have to be, proactive in it, and you have to really not be afraid to lean on people, because that was another thing friendships taught me, is that a lot of times how can I say this? A lot of times I don't want to burden anybody with what I'm going through. And so I won't tell people how to show up for me. I will not tell people how to show up for me initially, and I will feel some type of way when they don't show up for me, as if they just supposed to know. And it's just like, no, Shannon, you need to communicate with people. How do you need to be shown up for a friend? And so I started doing that, and giving people grace, giving people time to get to know me, to be able to show up for me. But I realized too that everybody doesn't know how to show up for you in that way. And so, I don't know, I gained some friendships in 2022, and I stepped away from some friendships, and I just reevaluated, like, who I was as a friend, and also, like, who do I want to be, as a friend, and who I want somebody to be for me as a friend, or just any relationship anyway. They don't have to be friends. So yeah, that's what I learned about friendships in 2022. I've gained some really nice people in my life that I'm very thankful for, because y'all know I was praying, like, God, can y'all pray that I find somebody, some friends and stuff like that. And so I'm just grateful for that in 2022, because I did have some rough moments where I was able to call on those people who were able to pray for me. That was the big thing for me too, like having friends to like pray for you. I don't really have a lot of, I do. I have Jazz. Jazz is my friend who will pray for me. Jazz is my friend who will send me a Bible scripture. Like, she is my friend who does that. But then I gained another one, and so that just always feels good, because she was in close proximity to me. She knew what I was going through, and so it was more fine-tuned to my situation. But I'm just thankful for the friendships that I've had along the way, that I've experienced along the way, and I'm grateful for the ones that I am growing now. And so yeah, 2022 taught me to really be intentional about building your community, like picking people to be a part of your tribe. And that feels good. Like, it feels good to be in this era with people who I can lean on, and people who I can count on to support me. So yeah, that's my kind of little reflection for friendships for me in 2022. So the last thing I was going to talk about was the business. The business was it was my whole 2020. Like I said, I got to open up a med spa, and so that business taught me a lot about myself, y'all. I knew that entrepreneurship was not going to be easy, but actually seeing somebody doing it and actually doing it yourself is a completely different thing. I feel like a lot of people glamorize entrepreneurship, and don't get me wrong, it is a very rewarding path to take, but baby, let me tell you, the path is not one of ease. It requires a lot of discipline, because you don't have anybody telling you you gotta go to work. You just don't. If you don't go to work, if you don't work, you don't eat. And so it requires a certain level of discipline, a certain level of resilience, because y'all know my journey. We had some bumps and bruises, and it was a lot of trial and error in our business, just learning, because there is no blueprint. It's not that I know of places out there teaching you how to open up a med spa. And so we had a lot of times that were very discouraging, but then we also had a bunch of times where it was like, wow, we really do this. Like, clients coming from out of state to see us, I'm like, I was always very baffled, honored, but baffled, like, wow, people are coming to see us from out of state. Like, actually doing something of that magnitude, like 2 Black women opened up a medical spa. Like, that was a big accomplishment. And so overall, even though we closed the business, I told y'all I didn't feel like that was a failure. I didn't, of course I felt bad. Like the natural emotion is like we put so much work into this business, so it's not easy to close it down. Honestly, it was one of the hardest decisions that we made, but I realized some of the hardest decisions are the best. And I absolutely believe that that was the best decision for us to close the business down, because it takes two self-aware people to say, you know what, recognize like, hey, we are not compatible as partners, but we would flourish separately. It takes a certain amount of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but it takes a certain amount of that to recognize that and move accordingly. And so I'm like, wow, like I did that. Like I actually did that. It feels good to have like had an idea and then actually seen it come to pass. And such a grand idea like that, it really honestly made me feel like I could do anything. Like if I could open a med spa, I could do anything. Because this little girl from Detroit, Brightmo, mama still live in the same house that I was born in. I never thought of my life that way. And so the business was a great experience. It definitely opened my eyes to so much when it comes to just nursing and money, getting money, and just it was a great experience. It was not easy. Let me preface it by saying that you already know how I feel about it. But if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change anything about that experience. And so even moving forward, y'all, I'm still on the fence. Like I don't know if I necessarily want to open up a med spa, because now I discovered that I really love doing coaching calls, which is probably like, I'll talk about that in the vlog. But I'm like, I haven't made the decision yet to say, you know, am I gonna open up my own med spa, or am I gonna focus on something else? And so I'm like giving myself time, because there's a little bit of fear, which we talked about. If I know the guy that I serve, I shouldn't be operating like that, but there is a little fear mixed in starting over. But child, that's a whole nother video. So yeah, the business was, it took up a lot. It was all I focused on last year, and it really made me see like, wow, if I put my mind to something, like I can literally do whatever I want to do. So yeah, that's really my reflection on the business last year. It really grew me as a person, for sure. Yeah, that's my reflection on my business journey in 2022. So yeah guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know like, what are some of your reflections on the year? If you kind of resonate with anything that I said, let me know some of your goals for the year. I'm probably gonna do like a different video in the vlog about talking about like my goals for Q1. I really don't do them for the year, although I've been reading this book called The 12-Week Year, y'all, and that's how I've started off my year as far as like the goals that I want to accomplish. But yeah, share some of your goals. Let me know what y'all doing. Are some of y'all in school? Some of y'all starting your first travel assignment? Like, tell me, how was last year for y'all? Like, what was the vibe? So yeah, that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, talk to you guys later.